that we can try and create a framework of non-negotiables and make them in the afternoon because the willpower wanes. It's hard in the morning. We can be vulnerable because it's very early and sleepy and tired, but that's different. You can still have willpower, but in the afternoon, what are the non-negotiables? I need to nail lunch, and what are my afternoon snacks or fuel sources? Dinner, that's relative to your families and what you're doing, how you structure that with people that you're eating with. But absolutely, and this is why it's hard. There's so many variables with work, situations, locations, settings, family structures, different influences, different people, what they want to do, your own influence of yourself, old patterns, misinformation. Like what Rob was saying, yeah, less is more. Definitely not. This is what makes it hard. You don't just do a training session, you don't just listen to a podcast, you don't just check in for the Sunday charge up and awesome Graham said. It's like, there are so many variables here. Find the quick kills, create the non-negotiables, and hold that higher standard. And there's a lot of amazing food. Like, look at what we do here. Like, you've got plenty to satisfy the taste buds, but don't drug your own palate. When you become cleaner with that, you'll have a piece of chocolate or any other sort of stuff, using that as one example, and you'll understand the change in your palate where I actually enjoy the sugars and the flavour of something natural and more wholesome like fruit. There's nothing wrong with that. Honey, maple syrup's not maple flavoured syrup, like they fucking get you, maple syrup. It's amazing. Very good. So, now in good share too, Cammy, because that's the same for all of us, and for me, I tell Corinne, I say, I understand if you want to have your little snacks or treats, bits and pieces, and she needs to get her body back. She's given it up for 6 years now, just about. Probably 8 if you include the IVF we're trying. It's like, all right, well, don't bring it in the house, so don't show me. Because if it's not there, bang, it's done. It's easier, isn't it, if it's not there? Have more food, slightly fibrous, but the right way with your greens and whatnot, but we go very, very high with the volume, which means the lower density foods like your potatoes, rices, quinoas, those sorts of things. If you want to really smash some fats, awesome. Like a whole avocado has 20 grams, 20 to 21 grams. That's like just over a tablespoon of MCT oil. Like, that can work good for you, but in terms of like that feed and that psychology, awesome. Well, the avocado is probably going to be a better option. That can help you there, and go massive protein. So if you want to really talk specific numbers, go really high. You do that. Worst case, if you do have something and there's some slight damage control, it's going to be very hard to have if you're already pretty full and loaded without loading the calories exponentially. Depending on the intensity of your fasting, you should probably break that fast cycle every 12 to 16 weeks. Which I mentioned to him. We spoke about maybe building some carbs if you get you a bit more muscle and whatnot. He's on point with it all, it's just tweaks. But it can hold its purpose with giving you a good structure, almost the same thing, but structure to your day. Convenience when time is of the essence and you don't have the ability, don't grab some muffins and put jam on them and run out the door. Like, convenience, it can add when you're time poor. Cellular repair can be very good, and a bit of a flush and deload, and a de-stress too for your digestive system. That's why I'm personally not a big fan of 8 small meals a day. Like, maybe some guys on the gear trying to be Mr. Olympia will do it, awesome, because they have to, and they literally physically can't eat the food or the time it takes for them. Cool, that's not us. That can hold a great thing, but for me back in 2014, which I was very strong too, fasting, all my PBs were when I was fasted in the gym, so it's not that it doesn't work, but I'd fast till 3 p.m. and I'd have a big meal at 3, big meal at 6. I did that for 9 months and I burnt out. I wasn't having enough calories. It was physically impossible. Middle of summer, should be on 6,000, 7,000 calories a day. Would have been on 3. And I was eating like a pig because I could. Not good, like in terms of shit food. So it can provide structure, convenience, some cellular repair and deload and unstress the digestive system, because it takes energy to use that energy too. Which is why there is value in eating a lot, because you're actually burning calories in ingesting those calories. Does this help paint a different picture from all the bullshit we get fed since birth, really? Remember, I'll never go out of my depths of what I know and talk bullshit. I don't know at a scientific level how that works, but I do understand the feels of it, and I've done some close work with Shannon on a personal level. But yeah, that's a good idea, mate. But people will top that up with jams. They'll have some, 2 sugars in their coffee, and then they've got the dairy, which isn't necessarily bad or not, but when they've got the dairy, then they've got the gluten, then they've got some sugar, and then their levels of what they're doing with their activities, and this is what then becomes an issue where it's like, okay, that's going to affect me way more. I had a sugar in my piccolo this morning. That's fine for me. White granular sugar, like you were saying. And I can handle that, but the problem is I'm not here to communicate a message and say, hey, I can have 5 tablespoons of sugar and get away with it. I don't do that either. But in the area, in the circumstances and settings, it all compounds with each other. So one piece of bread might be fine. You could have 3 pieces of sourdough and that'd be awesome. But if that's compounded with a meat pie at the servo, and then you're having lasagna for dinner, and you haven't trained for 3 or 6 weeks, and like let's say you're not part of IDM, that's the spiral, man. And it's like, okay, well, that lasagna might be awesome for Swaney before he does something the next day because his body can handle it. You guys have to be comfortable with dispersing the food. I'll have it for lunch, I'll give it to the dogs, it'll go in the bin. I understand that, but trust me, there's monstrous, incomparable amounts of waste with food that exists in the world compared to what exists here if you throw a bit of food in the bin. Now, I'm not, that's on an ethical base, like, fuck, there's so much waste in the world. So don't feel bad if it's like, I got a bit there, give it to the dogs, pack it for lunch, do whatever you need to do, and if it means getting rid of it, like, it's your health. Like, you can really break it down quickly, where it's like, and it's already cut and thing, I don't need to do anything to it. Same with the mince. Okay, I've got half a kilo of mince. I know that's 3 serves, so I don't even need to weigh it. Yeah, I cook the whole mince and I've got 3 meals. And I just do it by eye. But you can use scales, and this is the levels that you can build, fellas. But like I said, you might not be at that level, although it's not, I mean, who's Drew McKenna? Like, how did he get to that stage? He didn't start that way. He was just starting having a crack. So the bread roll and burger, I pulled a little bit of bread away that was just bulky, but together that's about 50 grams plus some of the marinade. That's about 60 grams of carbs. I've got that nut protein bar. Cool, that's about 15 grams of fat plus the cheese on the burger. Awesome, I've got 30 grams of fat, 60 grams of protein, 60 grams carbs. Done. That's something that just becomes banked in your system, and you just know because you're aware. It's not that hard. But there are gonna be little snacks we'll have a bit later after the ride. Awesome. Beef jerky, take with the ride. Top up the protein a little bit. I'm already thinking of all of you within good range of an educated guess with your own bodies of giving you a blend of protein, carbs, and fats. Brazilian tonight, I'm sure there'll be carbohydrate dishes, but it's predominantly pretty meaty, right? And then we'll probably look at maybe getting a kitchen and a chef who's better than, you hide. Who's better than, who can show us how to really cook. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be a good different element. Right about. All right, and take it up and returning in, lift, and then look underneath a little bit.